The leap out and the leap in were the best conventions, the best teasers, the best trailers that anybody could have ever devised for a TV show. What would it be like to be you for a day? This kind of just delight in this wonderful hour, you know, that was different from anything else.
Oh, boy.
I was in a hit Broadway show, Romance, and I decided that it was time to stop and it was time to go back to LA. And my family had left in August, and everybody in New York was like, "You're crazy. You're the star of a Broadway show. You're Tony nominated. You know, the show's going great. You can't leave." And I said, "Well, I need to go back to LA." And for whatever reasons, 4 weeks after I got back to LA, the Quantum Leap audition came across my door.
He'd come off Broadway and he sat down and he read the part of Sam. And as he read it, my heart started to beat very fast. And I kept a very straight face and said, "Thank you, that was really terrific." And he walked out the door and I went, "I don't care what you gotta do, that guy is Sam."
The next time I auditioned, I was reading with Dean Stockwell.
A good dear friend of mine, Dennis Hopper, said, well, that's the end of his career when he found out I was going to do a series. And Dennis, who is almost always right, was wrong.
Dean surprised us all when somebody said to me, "Would you like Dean Stockwell to play the part of Al?" And I said, "Are you kidding me? Dean Stockwell?" He'd just done Married to the Mob, and it was a big film hit.
That's the audition I really remember, because I was going in to read with these guys. It was in the afternoon, and there was sunlight coming in from the back of the room, and everybody was basically in silhouette.
And then it became my turn, and here was this guy, and he said, "Hi, I'm Scott." I said, "Hi, Dean, how are you doing?" And let's go in and do this.
Dean walked in and was kind of complete.
I just kind of sailed through it and made everybody laugh. All these people back in the dark, you can't see them. They like to, I think they like to sit back there and not let their faces be seen.
It was very odd first two scenes from the pilot. One was when we were at the fishing hole and he shows up.
My name is Albert. Albert what? I can't tell you because it's restricted. Most of what you're going to want to know is restricted. So it'd be easier for us if you don't ask a lot of questions.
What are you?
That's a question, Sam.
And of course, it was Dean and I hit it off.
I made them all laugh. So in walking out, I knew, because I knew that Don wanted me for it, I knew I had it. And I was very happy.
Can't you just fade in or something?
You tell me how to fade in agitated carbon quarks, and I'll make the scientific journal.
In the beginning, we were all, it was a huge, excuse the expression, leap of faith.
The concept of the show was so unique that and I wasn't the only one. This was true for Scott as well. A lot of us at the beginning couldn't really figure out how it was going to be executed.
From the two scenes that I was given, I would say that I didn't understand the show well at all. And I would say at this point in my life, I still didn't understand the show very well.
In pitching this story to Brandon Tartikoff, who's greatly missed, Brandon said, "Would you tell that to me again so that my mother could understand it, and do it in about 20 seconds?
Well, we think the computer tells us that if you fix this, you have an X percentage chance of leaping back to the present. It's like, okay, that's what we'll do then, we'll fix that. And of course, as time went on, we realized, well, it just doesn't seem like I'm going anywhere.
And Brandon said, anybody else came here and pitched me that, anybody else came in here and pitched me that, I'd throw them out. But since it's you, go make it.
I can't fly. I'll be your co-pilot.
You're a hologram.
I'm also an ex-astronaut. The hardest part about flying is taking off and landing. The B-50 does the first part of that for you. After that, you just fire a couple of rockets, hang onto the stick, and zoom, Mach 3.
First of all, when you're creating a show, you want to do something that you love, all right? I do a lot of military things. I love it. I'm a pilot, or I was, So that just appealed to me. I lived out there during that time. I knew a lot of those people. And it was just a natural thing for me to write. So I started to write something else, and I went, nah, I think I want to write this. I mean, what could be more difficult than leaping in to a test pilot?
If I'd been a race car driver, well, yeah, people know how to drive a car. But here I am, boom, I've got to fly a plane.
She's all yours, Bart. Take her up to 25.
And of course, it turns out that Dean, Al, has flown, so that worked.
Where are you?
Right here.
Hey, Tom, you reading me? Come in X2.
Follow my lead. Light off 1 and 2. It's a kick in the butt, ain't it?
From when I first read the pilot and saw this character of Al, I loved it, and I saw this potential in it for a kind of humor and a kind of demeanor that would be attractive and fascinating, I thought, to audiences. And I think I was right about that.
Well, most of Al is Don.
No, none at all. What's that, because he was lecherous?
A lot of Al was Don Belisario. The lecherous, the checking out the girls.
His appreciation of the female form was definitely, and not only the form, everything female, was injected into this character, Al, and I quite liked it myself.
Dean just embodied it, and then the cigar stuff and everything, that's who Dean is.
Cigars was one, but that's just a little prop, and also a good way to get free cigars for 5 years. And the idea of the wardrobe, which was Don's, I thought was terrific. I don't know if anybody ever said, why does he dress like that? Nobody ever asked, why does he dress like that? What is he, weird? It was just accepted. And it really worked without any explanation for it. Where would he get those clothes? My God, where do you find stuff like that?
Whether this was the first day or not, shortly thereafter, and it may have been the second day, we shot the scene where I ran out of the house. In the shower, I'd seen my reflection and freaked out and ran out of the house. If anybody's been in the high desert in December, it's very cold. And we had fans, huge Ritter fans on me, because part of what Don had written was that the shaving cream was blowing off my face. So it was freezing. And I literally remember that getting in the Teamster's car in between shots, and I could feel the muscles on my back just like jumping up and down, because they were just spasming. I was so cold. But Hollywood, it's all glamour.
Like any show, when you create it and you do a pilot, the show develops in the season that follows that. That's why the first season to me is so interesting, because you can actually watch the growth and development of the show. Sam, for example, as a character grew.
When they got me, they had somebody who had played a lot of sports, who sang, who danced, who played the piano, who could play the guitar. My whole life, in a sense, had prepared me to be in the show.
I felt that Scott Bakula always deserved an Emmy, was nominated a number of times and never got it. He was obviously doing such an incredible job. Not only a difficult acting job, but a physically difficult job.
The biggest lead-in I would get was, you're going to be a boxer in 2 weeks. How's your boxing? Not great. All right, well, we got to have, and that would be kind of like the clue. It kind of became, what else can we do to Scott? I mean, we joked at times, how can we kill Scott?
He had it like tripled, because not only did he have to put in all the hours every week, but he had to do it in the guise of these various characters that he had leapt into.
And he needed that. He needed that outlet of energy, because he has enormous energy. And he thinks that, I don't know to this day, that he used to sneak off and play hockey, indoor hockey, at lunch breaks, which was not allowed by the studio because of insurance purposes.
I dislocated bones in my foot, and I get cut and banged up and stuff. The goal was to get to the end of the year in enough of pieces that you could finish the year, and then rest up and start the next year. But it was a blast.
Another thing I got to say, that at the beginning of making that show, Scott was pounding nails with the grips. the first episode. And nearly 5 years later, on the last episode, Scott was still pounding nails.
He'd be down there lifting stuff up and moving it with the crew. You say, was this guy nuts? But he's just good. That's the way he is. And, you know, everybody loved him.
I suppose things are happening rather abruptly for you.
Oh, well, I'm getting used to it.
We would be doing an episode, and somewhere about the 4th or 5th day of shooting, we'd get a preliminary script for the next episode. And we looked forward to it so much every week. It was just, it'd be tingling to open the new script and see where it was going to go, because everyone was different. That's one of the great charms of the show. The time was different, so all the costumes, all the sets, all the people in each episode were different.
Every show was different, every show was challenging, and yet at the same time, that was kind of the delight. You know, how are they gonna do it? And obviously, from week to week, the audience was like, who's he gonna leap into, and what's he gonna look like?
If I could keep it within the modern time frame, within the span of life of the man who was jumping, there would be TV, there would be automobiles, people basically dress the same, wardrobes change and that, but it would be buyable, it'd be believable. And so that's what I did. That's why I said he can only leap in his own lifetime. And that could go into the future, which we did a little, but not much. The next thing was that I wanted to see who he leaped into. And that was the famous mirror shots.
Don worked this convention of me being Swiss cheesed again each time I leapt. My desire as Sam to get back home didn't build necessarily. Like, okay, I learned this. My time travel experiment went wrong. Well, I've got to get out of here. And then it was like, wait, what am I? So it didn't keep building in frustration and I hate this. And especially in the first season, it was just kind of this awe. Great guy that I bounced off, you know, for the whole time was Dean.
We were like on each other's case constantly for 5 years, to our own amusement and even to the amusement of the crew.
Their arc in that first season, you can see their friendship grow.
He watches, he's a perfect observer. He watches, he kind of jumps on his cigar and he gives you a little stuff here and there that kind of lets you know that, you know, that was a good one.
I've been up against hotshots like this, Bob, before, and as long as they're in control, you can't shake them. But if he loses to a hunk of junk like the Mom-mobile, I guarantee you that Cheryl will see the monster behind that pretty boy mask.
I think you're right.
Of course I'm right.
And Don said, you know, look, every script doesn't have to have a kiss with history, but if we can work something out where we do get a little something, then we'll go with that. And the audience, the audience loved it.
Just like a triangle in an orchestra going, bing, and then it would be gone.
We have Michael Jackson in an episode the first season doing a moonwalk. We have a kid named Buddy.
Yeah, Buddy, but because it was like, hey, Buddy, and he'd go, and yeah, and. We went through the whole episode, and every time somebody was about to say his name, a horn would honk or a cow would, moo or something, and I'd be like, and I would miss it again. And so I just, oh, hey, buddy. And you don't know until the very end of the episode, he's trying to work on this song.
Buddy is sitting there, and he's playing his guitar, and he starts to sing Piggy Sue.
The light goes on, and I say, hey, Buddy, and he goes, yeah.
Buddy, yeah, Doc? Why don't you try Peggy Sue? It might sound a little better. All right.
And no one saw it coming. It was just beautiful. I loved that.
Yes?
I'm so proud of you.
You are?
With all my heart.
I loved The Color of Truth because I just loved what that episode was about.
Definitely one of my favorite episodes was The Color of Truth.
Some were kind of just like laughers. You know, even fluffy episodes where the situation really wasn't of any social significance, really, or, you know, it wasn't a heavy duty type of morality type of episode. But then there were others that were important issues, and we kind of gravitated toward those a little bit.
I would say that that's probably overall my favorite in the first season.
If you want to eat with me, who says you can't?
I say I can.
Why?
Well, because it's the way things are. The way things have always been.
Sent it out to all the critics. They all wrote wonderful reviews, critically acclaimed, important, you know, all of the things that the network was looking for at the time, and our numbers were very good that night, and they said, okay, we'll pick you up for next season. The way the first season ended was all unintentional. Don wanted it to be, there was so much going on, he wanted it to be easy enough for people to get. So the female thing was like, no, you know, we're going to hold that off as long as we can. So it wasn't intended to be a great, beautiful cliffhanger. It just was the way it worked out. They threw that on because obviously it wasn't a cliffhanger at all because we didn't come back to that episode. They threw it on. Obviously it was a good hook. What? He's a woman, and then we were out.
Oh, well, I'm gonna get on that plane, because if I don't, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but...
No. I've seen the picture, Sam.
Oh, well, good. Then you know how it ends.
I went to the first Quantum Leap convention. I'll never forget it. In that, you have those moments where you're a rock star, basically.
And although I've been recognized my whole life from films, that recognition really, it took a quantum leap.
It was overwhelming. I know Dean and I both were kind of...
The Quantum Leap fans started to become part of like the family a little bit.
The reality is, in television, the fans make the show because they, you know, if they're not there, eventually the shows go off. And they were a part of the show. They felt, there was a great sense of entitlement with our fans because they felt episode 6, they all got on board. They went home from that show. They wrote the studio. They wrote halfway through the second season. We were taken off for a couple of weeks, and they deluged NBC.
Inundated NBC with so much mail that they asked me, could I please let the fans know to stop with the letters? They were going to pick us up again. And there's not a doubt in my mind that the fan base of Quantum Leap went a long way towards getting that show picked up at a very critical time. The fans are still out there. I was fortunate to be given a star on Hollywood Boulevard the other day. And there were a group of Quantum Leap fans with their signs, bring back Scott, bring back Al, or Sam, bring back Al, Ziggy wants to work again, you know.
Thanks, Al.
Go fly out.
I don't know, Al. Maybe I'm here to win this one.
I feel fortunate. I mean, there's some actors, I don't know how they do it, lucky. They get into these big movies, and they have scenes at the beginning and here and in the end. Next thing you know, they're in Hawaii or somewhere for 6 months on the same movie, picking up a check every week. Never happened to me, never happened. But Quantum Leap, 5 years. It was very unique in my career, and I'm very, very proud of it.
It's probably the most unique show, it's no doubt the most unique show I've made, and probably one that gives me more satisfaction and pleasure than any.
You know, I'm overwhelmed to this day about how it has affected people around the world, and that's like the magic of what Don and all of us created for 4.5 years. We were doing a takeoff of the natural at the end of that. Now in the natural, he was a left-handed batter. So we decided to turn me around, and I'm not a natural left-handed hitter. So there's not a time that goes by, and I shouldn't say this, that I look at that swing in slow motion and wish that I hadn't said, "Nah, let's just leave it right-handed," because it's, you know, I'm a pretty good baseball player, and the left-handed swing in slow motion, you know, analyzing it is pretty. Baseball players are chuckling. Terry Hatcher. It's hard to say. You don't need to really say much more than that, except it was Terry Hatcher at, I don't know, 18 or something. I mean, she was stunning and also, you know, again, right, and, but, you know, stunning. I think I said that once. Dean had a lot of trouble working that episode. She was very distracting. But she's a beauty, and I've known her for years, and I still know her. And Leslie in that episode, too, was great. That was like the first show after the pilot, and it was like, wow, here came these two gorgeous women. Just like, well, this could be fun doing this show. The stuff that I didn't know how to do, they'd bring somebody in to train me. And we would do, you know, at lunchtime I'd be, for instance, right hand of God, I'd be boxing at lunchtime. They'd bring a guy who trained heavyweight fighters, and he'd put me through the heavyweight fighters drill, and I'd be jumping rope and working on the heavy bag and working on the speed bag and sparring gloves, and on the weekend, and we'd be choreographing all these shots and boxing. But I loved all that stuff. We shot that episode. It went on so long that we shot a scene, and I was a veterinarian, and I don't know what to do, and I think I'm there to, you know, stop this girl from marrying this bad guy, you know, and I'm trying to figure out how the pig's sick, and the piglet is sick, and I put him in a drawer next to my desk, and I'm trying to read books and figure out what to do, and I have all these degrees, but they're in the future. They don't always come back to me. And we shot this scene early on, and for some reason we had to go back, and we had to do pickups. I don't remember what it was. And we came to put the piglet back in the drawer, and he didn't fit anymore. So we had to get another piglet, and because they had a bunch of them, and we had to get a smaller one and put him back in, because they gain like, I don't know, something ridiculous, like a pound a day or something. And you know, I'm here to tell you that it comes out the other end. But you know, there's nothing like driving a Jeep, a stick shift, an old Jeep, a stick shift. I mean, an old Jeep. I drove a lot of bad old cars that barely worked and sometimes got pushed. Holding the pig on your lap. So you're shifting and you're doing a thing in bumpy dirt roads and trying to make a thing and get to your mark and, you know, do all this stuff while the pig is doing all of his business all over your lap in the car, in the Jeep. It was fun. Yeah, I sang all the stuff through the years, and certainly the first one was Volare, and gosh, we had a ball with that, because Dean, being part Italian, he was giving me all the Italian nuances and all the stuff, you know, and I'm trying to again fake it, and that again was the great joy of the series, is watching this guy try and fake his way through all these different kinds of situations, as many crazy ones as they could think of, and being stuck in front of a crowd at a wedding, singing a song you don't know in Italian, pretending, you know, that you do know, and having your holographic friend feed you the lines before you have to sing them. It was always had this great, we tried to have this great improvisational reality to it, and off the cuff, and what's going to happen, and how is Sam going to get out of this? Is he going to fall on his face? What, you know, how is he going to? And because I'm a singer by trade anyway, the goal there was to sing, not sing well. I had other episodes down the line where I got to sing well, but to kind of fumble through and survive. We were doing things in the first season that, as television goes, you don't get to do very long. But for instance, when you go and look at this episode, The Color of Truth, the diner scene, we built 2 diners. And the diner on the other side of the mirror, there was a huge mirror over the counter. And the diner on the other side of it was the mirror opposite, the direct opposite, to the point of the buttons being sewed on the opposite sides of the shirts, the lettering on the shirts and everything being back. You know, every detail was put into this other full room. The extras, the double extras, everything, so that when I walked in and sat down at the counter, he walked in and sat down in the counter in the other set across from me. And you could see, and how they shot it, you could see me and you could see him walking and sitting down, and to his right was a guy in a sailor suit, and my right, and it was amazing stuff, but it took forever. Jason Priestley, and I've told this many times, but the first day he worked on the show, I went home and I told my wife at the time, said, I worked with a kid today who's got it. He's going to be the next Eric Roberts. He's going to be the next. That's who he reminded me of at the time. He just, you don't say that about a lot of people. I've worked with many, many wonderful people, but he just had something going on. He was connected. He was a great-looking kid. He had style. He had all this stuff. So, I've known Jason since then, and he's proven to be an extremely talented guy. Play It Again Seymour, I went to, we were doing promos for the show, and all the NBC promos. And there was no time for me to do them, because I was in every scene, every day, and there wasn't like there is now. So we had to do it on the weekend. And we were trying to schedule it so that, I'm sure I probably worked on Friday night until 4 in the morning. So we decided to start the promo shoot at 5 o'clock, maybe later. Maybe it was like 8 o'clock on Sunday night. And Dean and I came in, and we got dressed, and we shot all-night promos. We started at 8 o'clock. We shot it at a little studio down Melrose or somewhere. Shot all night long and went right to work at 7 o'clock in the morning. Shot huge ballroom scene down at the Coconut Grove in Play It Again Seymour all day long until about 9 or 10 o'clock that night. So, because I remember I always told people I worked a 25-hour day. So we must, whatever the math was. And I mean, it was insane. And I can remember the last scene was Dean and I at the bar talking to each other. And all I remember saying is, I'm gonna look so terrible. Because I felt so bad. We were so exhausted. And I'm, trying to put on this face and just feeling like my face was gonna fall off.
The fans even went so far one time on my birthday to see to it that I got a star on Hollywood Boulevard. They were responsible they paid for half of that. They raised the money and paid, because there's a certain amount, a couple $1,000s for each of those stars. For some reason, someone has to pay, and they did it. And that was, I can't tell you how that made me feel. It's a great honor, and I'll always love them. And they're still out there. And hello, there's one right there. And the show is now coming DVD for them. I'm sure they're going to get a big kick out of getting to look at all the episodes whenever they want.
The fans and the reception that we got, that's the real reason why I'm sitting here doing this today, because I feel, I know Dean feels the same way, indebted to them for being such a huge part of the show and the success of the show. And now that, people have been asking me for a long time, when's the DVD coming out? When's it gonna? And the fact that it's finally coming out, and once again, they're gonna be the ones who are out there gobbling this up. You wanna say thank you. I wanna say, thank you to them, and do this participate in this way to make this DVD special for the fans. Okay, so for those of you, who haven't seen some of these shows in a while, please don't listen to me talk about them. Watch them first, and then you'll enjoy me talking about the episodes much more after you've refreshed your memories. And if you haven't seen these episodes before, this is your first exposure to Quantum Leap, absolutely stop listening to me right now and go watch all the shows, then come back and you'll have a much better time. And I won't, give away stuff because I didn't know that you weren't going to watch the shows first. So please, I feel terrible if I've given stuff away. So go watch the shows.